Okay. Your opinion matters. We'll be using Mentimeter. We already started the chat. Your chats all appear to work well, so that's good. And we'll also be doing some breakouts later on in the session. So that's all things to look forward to. Our agenda today, we'll have some welcome introductions. Talking about membership, what that means. You're all members. So what is that about? Let's talk about the year ahead. We have some updates from Department of Energy and perhaps from EPA. Let's see what folks coming in, managing the waiting room. And we'll talk about the equity lens, integrating equity into your SDM program design. So very cool, very important work. Next, maybe, yeah, Wendy, do you want to speak to the new LT?
Yeah, so as you guys may recall, last fall, we did a call out for new leadership team members. And because we got new leadership team members, it also means that we had to say goodbye to 2 leadership team members, but we just wanted to say thank you publicly to John Nickel and Chad Gillis, who have been on the leadership team more or less since inception. The good news is that they're not going too far because we are having them become the committee leads. And John will become our committee lead for our research that we do, our paid research in whatever form it takes, which I'm working on right now. And Chad will continue to lead the committee with our events. So that's great. If you're interested in volunteering for any of those committees, let us know. We're excited to have you, kind of starting to continue to move those forward. And we would also like to welcome Anna Kelly, Mike Kelly, and Holly Farah to our leadership team board. We're really excited to have them. So Anna and Holly are both evaluators, which is great. We haven't had evaluators on our leadership team in the past. And so that's a really great new add. And then Mike Kelly is with Natural Resources Canada. And so we're super excited to have a government representation from, well, the United States Northern Partner as we continue to look at kind of the group of both Canada and the United States. So thank you so much. Excited to have you guys join us. Yeah, and thank you, John and Chad, for your service.
Pleasure. All right, see you guys later. No, still a member. All right, we are here. John and I are still here. So membership review. This is the same map. If you're at the last QMR, the same map as last time, although we've had a new addition. Michael's Energy is now a member as well. Can anyone guess what their dot is? Actually, we haven't put their dot in there yet. So lots of dots, which is great. Again, I think just the quick call out for this is one, yeah, definitely a binational representation across, with most regions decently well represented and/or represented, I think, commensurate to the level of activity in SDM in those areas, which is very exciting. Definitely, again, West Coast definitely is a strong, definitely a lot of stuff in the more not industrial areas, but yeah, in the Midwest / Ontario and Quebec. So definitely great having all those groups here. And with that, we can kind of blur into our discussion on our membership. So we have, if you all recall, either you wrote a check or your organizations wrote a check to be members of the North American SDM Collaborative. I'd like to thank you all. Also, thank you in advance for joining again next year, this next year. So we'll be coming back to you. But before we do that, we want to ask you some questions. And so we basically have a few Mentimeter polls. And so I'm going to flip over to that. And so you are all familiar. You should all be familiar with Mentimeter polling. If you're not, open another browser window either on your computer or on your phone. Either one work. Open that browser up. Go to menti.com, menti.com. Use these 8 numbers, these 8 digits. 2 4-digit numbers or 8 1-digit numbers, and type. So go to that, type those in. Greg, what is an 8-digit now? It's not a million. That'd be like a 10 and something. It's not a, I don't know. not a mathematician. Oh, you're muted.
82 million and
Okay.
change.
This
A
82
lot.
million, 82 million number. I heard you. So yeah, what benefits most, and it didn't even have to be at one of the things on that list that just flashed up a second ago. What's most valuable to you? I'm hoping one of you says Wendy and Chad's jokes, but if you don't, that's fine. Put whatever you want.
I get that for free. All you gotta do is call me.
That's true, right?
It's
Corny
not a membership
joke.
benefit.
Yeah. It's not a big question if it's a benefit at all or something else. So great.
I'm seeing a lot, look at that, Winnie and Chad's jokes. I'm seeing a lot of things around just networking in general, the community, which is kind of what we were feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. See a couple about the paid research, which is great. We're getting ready to continue to look for like our next iteration of some of the paid research we've done, which is great. So we're right on schedule with that.
Sharing, harmonization.
Yeah, info about what others are doing. We're actually also thinking of other ways to share best practices, even, in the newsletter for one, but also other unique ways this year. That's something definitely on our list. So thank you for sharing that.
This is great. Okay.
Centralizing research and information sharing is really key. And that's something we've started talking about too. So it's good to know.
Yeah. So we'll have another open-ended question in a few minutes, but before that, we've got a couple of questions on your Mentimeter poll that we're going to go to the next question on, which is about the benefits as described in that table. So the first question then, there we go, is for you to please rate how valuable the core membership benefits are. That is to say that the benefits at the top of that table, the ones that if you're a member at all, like a bronze, silver, or gold, you all have these. And so we'd like to understand how valuable these core membership benefits are to you. If you're on this call, you have access to these benefits. I'd like to understand how valuable they are to you. I think we have one person on the phone. So you can't vote. Well, I guess you could probably then open up the browser and still do this thing, but we got quarterly newsletters, working groups, quarterly member roundtables, QMARs like this, recognition on their website, access to SEM program directory.
Good spread there. I like that.
Yeah, this is really good. This kind of goes in line with the free form, which was, just general networking, right? And learning from each other. And that's kind of holding true for these as well, the things that are providing the most benefit.
Mm-hmm. And for any of you that are data geeks like me, are also looking at this and loving these little background shapes. Like 3.1 is nothing different from 3.3, but the spread is very different. The shape of the diagram behind it, which is, again, just a geeky data thing. Okay, so it's great. 24 responses. I think we're going to use that as good enough to go to the next question, which is about the next set of membership benefits, which are the ones that apply to the silver or gold level. So the question is to all of you, how valuable are these benefits, or how valuable would they be? So, either to you if your organization is at that level, or would they be to you if your organization were to seek to be at that level? Right? So everyone should be able to respond to that. If you say, not valuable, or you say, that'd be wildly valuable. Either one are great.
What does the load shape in the background tell us, Chad? I'm very curious now.
The distribution of, so like the leadership, the third one down is kind of polarized. Lots of low, lots of high, not too many in the middle.
It's kind of like the average number of, you get like a room full of dogs and people, and the average number of legs is 3. But there's no one that has 3 legs, right? That's what this shows you right here. No, there's like relatively, even though 2.8 looks pretty similar to 2.5, really no one answered, or very few people answered right in the middle. It was more on the edges.
It's barbells instead of,
Yeah.
It's the distribution of the answers.
Yeah.
Which could be equal to the answer or far from the answer, but it averages to 2.8, like the first one. Lots of low, lots of high. So you get an average. And then the last one, lots of high, no low at all.
I think there's like if you have your,
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say what this is kind of telling us, I think, is that although the top one has that kind of valley in the middle, what we also see is that connection to research is really important, either by participating in discussions about what the research topics are or getting actually kind of initial input into it. So I think that's pretty interesting around like what that higher level actually means. So that's great to see.
Very cool. Okay. So thank you all for providing feedback on those 2 sets of how to say it, of the benefits we've had to date. We'll ask one more question about that, membership benefits, which is, what benefit should we provide that we're not doing right now?
This is really important because what we want to do is adjust the membership structure as we move into the next year to benefit you guys. So if there's something that you wish that we would be doing or perhaps doing more of, now is the time to let us know as we go into the next part of the presentation, which is the year ahead. We can start thinking about how we can incorporate that type of membership benefit for you. Regulatory advocacy, that's great. That's something we've kind of started connecting with ACEEE on just a little bit, but I think that's definitely an area where we could do more of it for sure.
And to Wendy's point, that might be an area where we even have like a special working group, just to envision like what that would even look like, and like who are the people in the who's in our orbit that we'd want to be talking to, the NARUCs and the NASEOs, or organizations in Canada, like so on. Like what is that? What does advocacy look like? What do we track on? How do we get involved? If or how do we get involved? It seems we get benefits in here. To bid on, the opportunities to bid on performance research. We talked about this at a QMR or 2 ago, about what that could look like. More exchange time versus presentations move along. Yeah, that's great. Novelty hats. Yes.
Well, we can annually mail them out to each member. I think it's a great idea with themes. Like we'll do France, we'll do a beret one time. Unbiased advice for new program design. That actually might be a great idea. How do we actually, if you have an idea and you want to come and just kind of brainstorm with some of the leadership team or perhaps some of the members in general, just getting together working groups as one-offs, there might be a way to create, you know, kind of a phone a friend, maybe membership.
Yeah. Decarbonization, helping to communicate the value of estimating utility execs. It's great. Best practices for best impact in different sectors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
this
good.
This is all wonderful stuff.
Yeah, the industrial decarbonization training, visioning, utilities, etc. That's a really interesting kind of vision we could put in place about how you would do that. SEM benchmarking and market segments. How to great SEM with utility decarbonization.
Yeah, I've been talking about that a bunch with people. So that is definitely in the forefront right now, how to embed it within an existing SEM program. So thank you for calling that out.
And user market awareness of SEM. That's pretty interesting. We haven't really gone directly to the end user necessarily, but if that's something that would benefit the members, is helping do some sort of marketing to end users, that could be interesting.
It's amazing.
First areas, yeah, explain to our agency, some explain. And then what was this? Challenges in engineering, laws, and goodness fit requirements of the third IA. All right, that's a good one. A lot to it.
What are the things I see, especially with that longer one, Chad, is this concept of kind of phoning a friend, right? Which is like, hey, North American SEM Collaborative, I need help with the new program design. Can I workshop it with you? We're having challenges going to our utility executives. Can you help us? Right? We need the PUC on board. And then we could say, okay, member, how can we provide support? Is it a white paper? Is it, presenting to them or testifying perhaps, or perhaps maybe even like getting one of our evaluators to come and talk about like the acceptances of models. So I really see that as perhaps another benefit we could provide.
Or even, Wendy, to build on that, some sort of like matchmaking, like if another member has sort of nailed that down and sold that to their regulators or whatever, matching those two so that, if they need somebody else to be sort of like a expert testimony from a different region, then they can provide that.
Yeah.
For collaboration. We're going to wrap this up in about 20 seconds here. So the last ones to send in. Customer collaboration, regional, national, SEM collaboration organizations, such as like regional collaboratives like Northwest Collaborative or CEE, to share information and avoid duplicate efforts. That's great. Referral to consultants who can help with these services.
Look back because you're not supposed to be doing that, and then look back.
Let's see. And that's great. Oh, and the last one in, I think, average impacts and cost effectiveness of programs. Nice. Okay. So let's flip back over. Don't close that Mentimeter browser. Keep that open. Don't close that. But we're going to go to our next topic, which is our engagement structure. So if you've been a member, well, we flash this slide up in most of our webinars and meetings. So this is our schedule for this year. And so I want to talk to you about a couple things. So first of all, we have these quarterly member roundtables. The third one I think we plan to do, right, Wendy, adjacent to or inside of the SEM Summit.
Correct.
Yeah. And then, we'll have these, there'll be 4 touch points with all of you. And then we'll also have 4 webinars, the last of which is usually our SEM Successes webinar, which is always a big hit. So what we'd like to ask you, though, is to talk about what topics you'd like to hit. And so going back to our poll, the question to you is, what do you want us to cover in 2022 in these webinars or QMRs? Because in this QMR, again, we're gonna have a featured topic we're going to hit in a few minutes. If you want a topic to be covered in either, you don't care, just type that in. You only get 1 vote, by the way. So be careful. Think about this. Put your finger on your head like this and think about it. And then when you're ready to type it in, do it. But if you think it should only be a QMR topic or only be a webinar, please prepend your response with webinar - SEM joke story, something like that. You just get 1 vote. So your vote counts. We're going to tally the votes up at the end. Not real time though. It'll be too hard to do.
For the benchmarking one, whoever said that, if you feel comfortable, what do you mean by benchmarking? Like benchmarking SEM programs against other programs, benchmarking buildings?
You can use, if you want to use the chat for that, or if you want
the chat. Yeah, getting clarity on what you mean by benchmarking would be great. Strategies on SEM across multiple utilities or resource types. I'm assuming when we mean resource types, do you mean like gas versus electric, or do you mean like market sectors? That's another kind of question clarification. It would be good to get. C2 for evaluation results.
So yeah, again, a core thing what Wendy's saying, for any one of these things, if you type something in, or if you think something's cool, add some color to it. Benchmarking would be great for blah, describe what that means. Or like she just said, resource types. Does that mean gas and electric? Does that mean water and waste, solid waste, as an example? And again, whoever put this in, someone else could pile on and say, that would be, actually, that's a great idea. Ensure it does this. So seeing some good things coming in. Feel free to use the chat. if you'd like to add more color.
Achieving demand savings and load shifting with SEM. I don't think we really have done DR yet in one of our webinars. That would be a new one.
We did an IDSM about almost 2 years ago,
Oh, we did.
but we didn't go deep. We just kind of said this is one of the things, but we definitely didn't go into it. And especially, man, now 2 years later, it's becoming even a bigger deal. SEM and true cultural change in organizations, best practices, management, measurement. A webinar on new Measure Life research for wider audience. Love it. Someone was just asking me about Measure Life recently, and I said, Energy Trust, cool paper. Their study they did a little bit ago. Let's see, expanding SEM beyond energy efficiency of existing buildings, for example, renewals or new construction.
Yeah, DEI integration into current SEM programs. We're going to be covering the equity lens, so that's actually done. Whoever put that there, check. We can do it. We can do more too.
Yeah. If you want more, we would love to talk DEI. EMIS or EMIS QMR. I'm sorry, webinar on EMIS at QMR on what's the long-term plan beyond quarter-to-quarter goals. I like it. Like, you know, for I think that I assume that means for SEM, not for us. I think that's what that means. Please chat me if I'm wrong. Webinar on utility incentive programs to do SEM and decarbonize. How can DSM programs best support SEM alumni? All right, that's great. I did that webinar a year ago on continual SEM. But yeah, no, I mean, definitely a lot more to talk about. And that was actually a very well attended webinar. People love talking about continual or ongoing, the ongoing nature of SEM.
Hey, Chad, this is Kit Butler. You went, you asked a question about the one I typed in, but I didn't hear you. You went so fast.
Sure.
It was the webinar. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. The question is on this QMR, what is the long-term plan beyond quarter-to-quarter goals? Is that the question?
Well, just the long-term goals or, you know, beyond quarter-to-quarter?
Sorry, for SEM program performance or SEM customers, or are you talking about like
for this group?
For this collaborative. Okay, great. That's great.
Yeah, that's actually coming up to this year. We're going to be doing kind of a business plan. The leadership team is going to be doing a business plan, so we can make sure to bring that back to you guys and get feedback on it if you guys would like that. So we can definitely add that to the list of things.
Great. Okay, we're going to go to the next question, which is about, we just asked about QMRs and webinars. Next question is, how can the SEM Summit provide most value to you as a member? We should say, so we don't have an exact, Wendy, please, if you could please comment on what's happening with the SEM Summit.
Yeah, so the SEM Summit is going to be at ACEEE's summer study this year. We're not too sure on exactly when. We're thinking Wednesday, but I have not finalized. It's in theory, COVID permitting, Omicron variant, all that kind of good stuff. It'll be in person, which is really exciting. So mark your calendars. I think it's August 20th through the 26th is when the ACEEE building summer study is in Asilomar this year. And just one of the things to keep in context is the SEM Summit is kind of open to anybody who wants to pay to participate. But the question is, how can we provide extra benefit to members? You know, so what would you like to see us do that provides you with a little extra as a member? What does that mean? What could we give you that is really going to draw you in?
And so we gave a couple of examples here that may or may not be good ideas. We just threw them in here. Like for example, every member, like all of you, or one representative from each of your organizations gets to present at least a little. Maybe we have some little breakouts, some rapid fire presentations or something. Everyone gets to present a little bit or tell part of a story. Maybe that sounds like a great idea or a horrible idea to you. Another one could be a members only networking event. So we have a special thing at the beginning or at the end of it. There has a special thing for members only that enables you all to connect in a cozier environment or forum.
I really liked the bring in administrators, regulators, and other market actors not currently doing SEM. We've always focused on who is currently doing it. And I wonder if we could figure out a way to do a recruitment effort, maybe for part of the SEM summit, like an SEM 101 or something like that for people that are curious but not quite engaged yet. And we might need help from the members to identify who those are, but that would be something we could do.
Yes, yeah. Bring
So
another.
berets for all the members, that'll be great.
What's that?
Novelty hats, but actually some way of flagging us out as members would be good.
I think big blue foam hats, large. They're funny because they're big, really big.
Oh yeah, or like those like #1 foam fingers, you know?
Yeah,
That would be
yeah.
good. Everyone gets a #1 foam finger.
Anyone got my Norm
I
Macdonald
see for all
reference, right?
participants.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What about the career benefits one? Can you scroll down a bit, Chad? Yeah, career benefits. So professional training opportunities. That's pretty interesting from a SEM Summit standpoint, how we can do that. Or maybe even show career paths or something.
Thanks for VIC shirts. Not just VIC shirts. Greg made the LT some shirts a few years ago, which were very nice.
Ethan, I know you're here, and I just wanted to call out that there is one that says roundtable with high-level government, US and Canada officials, members only to discuss SEM role 2030, 2050 national targets. So we may be
Ethan,
reaching out.
That's a very long title, but I like it.
And Mike, Kelly, you're here too.
And I'll apologize because I'm the one that typed that, Ethan. So I don't mind going to my ADM and up to see if we can get them into these discussions. So yes,
Great.
please do reach out.
That's awesome. We'll do that.
I know personally Ethan does not like round tables. He prefers nice rectangular. We can maybe modify the plan. Okay, this is great.
Maybe trapezoidal.
Yeah. Well, this is a perfect segue. So again, we talked about all the different, again, we talked about the benefits. And again, we always want to be making sure we're providing value to you and to your organizations as a paying member of the North American Collaborative. So we thank you all for being members. We thank you in advance for continuing to support all of us together through your membership. And definitely, if you think of other things, when we wrap up the call today, if you think of other things that we could be doing to support you as a member, please do let us know. Let your nearest LT member know. And then again, for the QMRs and for the webinars, we thank you for your suggestions on those topics. And then lastly, for the SEM Summit, this is all great stuff here. Again, we'll capture all this and it will directly inform the plans. More to come from Wendy and myself about as your events co-leads. So and a plug too, by the way, if you again think that what we do is pretty fun or cool on the event side, I'd love to have you join us and to help out to pull these things off. So let us know. But yeah, some more to come on the SEM Summit, and we'll have some more information on that. But with that, we will then go back to our guest speakers. We got basically the core guest speakers. We wanted to get some just updates from the federal end, what's going on. And so we do have a few folks from the federal governments of the United States and Canada. And so I think we'll start with Ethan Rogers from USDOE.
Hello, everyone. Good to be here. I'm kind of multitasking right now. The secretary is speaking. They put this town hall on our calendar last week, and we realized after they'd sent us 12 invitations, it was not just a suggestion that we attend, but that somewhat of a requirement. And you guys will hear a lot about this, but there's going to be a reorganization of the Department of Energy. Kathleen Hogan is going to become the new Principal Undersecretary for Infrastructure and Clean Energy Technology. And they're also creating a new Undersecretary vertical that will include EERE and some other things. So I could spend the whole time here talking about that, but I just learned about it and there's still a lot of TBD, but it will be on the DOE website, I'm sure, as a recording. Anybody who's heard the secretary speak knows that she's very charismatic and very far thinking, and the recent infrastructure bill has provided $62 billion to the Department of Energy. And so we're having to do some expanding to accommodate that. So lots of good things happening. I think she said a total of 60 new programs are going to be created, 32 of which are new deployment programs and 16 of which are new demonstration programs. And I think a lot of that will fit within the new Office of Clean Energy, Technology and Demonstration. So TBD. But that's not what actually I was online to talk to you guys about. I want to talk to you about what's going on in the world that I have influence on, which is the AMO's energy management program. And I don't know if you were able to load that slide deck, Chad, or if I should speak extemporaneously, or if I should try and pull it up on my own.
I don't, oh, no, I don't see it. So you could pull it up now.
Okay, let me make sure I've got it open. And let's see here. Okay, and let's find the share button. Let's see, the share button for Zoom is there. All right. And I hope you are seeing my slide deck. So
Yes.
the Navigator program continues to do extremely well. Over the past weekend, we hit 4,000 user accounts, which, you know, by my measure of any DOE program I've ever been involved in the energy efficiency space is pretty impressive. About a fourth of those are active. Actually, a little bit more than a fourth of them are active accounts. So people are doing something with it. So it means people are actually using the Navigator, which is really cool. And also interesting to us, maybe less so to the North American SCM Collaborative membership, is almost half of these accounts exist outside of the United States. So we have a tool that is being used internationally. It's kind of become a default tool internationally. And so really cool about that. And we have several different cohorts that we're doing. Most of them are under AMO's umbrella, but we've done a couple at the Building Technology Office. Those recently concluded and in process of getting those facilities recognized. FEMP continues to work with the military to bring energy management to their facilities, frankly, around the globe. And the Weatherization Office has been working with wastewater treatment facilities and correctional facilities to introduce energy management to them. So you can see lots of different cohorts going on there. And the one which I know Chad's involved in, we're piloting some new materials around how to use the Navigator to both manage energy and carbon. And this is something that the program is pivoting to, the overall energy management program is pivoting to, is how can we use energy management to decarbonize? And so you'll see over the next months, years, that we'll be speaking a lot more about decarbonization as we talk about energy efficiency and energy management. So as I suspect all of you know, the administration is going a full court press on decarbonizing the industrial sector and the economy. And so that trickles down to every program, better plants, 50,001 ready, superior energy performance, all of it, translates down. Also want to let you know that our partners program with the Ready Navigator continues to grow. We're up to 18 different partners now, and very excited about this because this it's a great way to scale the impact of the program. Those who've worked with me know that I feel like the program we have within the Forrestal building is small. I mean, just a handful of people between us and the folks out in Berkeley. And so we can create materials, but we can't really push it out in volume. But through our partners, we can. And through these, so instead of reaching dozens of organizations a year, we can reach hundreds. And my goal is thousands, like yours, right? We want to reach thousands of companies a year. And so we exist to help organizations like yours accomplish that goal. Many of you probably saw this. Maybe you were on one of the DOE mailing lists, so maybe I sent notice about this to you personally, but we released a funding opportunity a couple weeks ago. This is something we've been working on for a while. And we're going to start with a pilot. The idea is to check out and make sure this idea, I think it's a great idea, but we'll find out if it's a great idea. We're going to test it out by funding a single pilot. And if it is a great idea, we'll do more of these down the road, knock on wood. But what I hope to do with this is, I've used this analogy for many, many years. I hope you find it amusing. It's the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup program. Some people want chocolate in their peanut butter. Other people want peanut butter on their chocolate. But the idea is the same. I want to combine smart manufacturing technologies and systematic energy management practices. And so we recognize that across the country, some of this is currently being done, but we want more of it, right? And so we want to create a new capability to provide that. And the idea is to do it at a regional level. So there's the information. You can see that we're looking for submissions by mid-March, and we'll hopefully be able to make an announcement this summer. That's a fairly aggressive timeline. This fall was influenced by an RFI, request for information, that we did back in the fall. I think some of you responded to that, so we took those ideas into consideration. But again, the whole idea is to see if we can't get this technology and the people part of SEM and the technology part of smart manufacturing and bring it together and help companies do quicker, better, faster, cheaper with regard to energy. So this is about all I can tell you about because it's an open solicitation. But if you have questions, you can go to the solicitation, and there is a email address that you can send your questions to. I also wanted to share with you something that the folks in Berkeley are working on. Hopefully we'll have a publication or so out later on this year. I think some of you have seen these two charts in some of my previous presentations. But Peter Thorkelson, Prakash Rao, and their team took the data that we've been collecting through the SCP program for a dozen years now, right? And we have pretty robust data, and we have a fairly controlled data set, which is kind of unusual in this space. And so we wanted to confirm or challenge the hypothesis that we all have been saying for years, and that is if you have an energy management system, you will save more energy, and the savings you have will be more persistent over a longer period of time. And the data say, yes, this is true. And the data also say, and I don't have a chart for this, that it is not dependent on having an energy champion. That if you have your processes in place, that the savings will also persist. So if you take that gun-ho champion that you have and promote him or her, or they leave the company, your savings will still persist. So the things that you guys are doing out there, we have data to say it's working. It's doing everything that we've always thought that it would do. That was intuitive to us that we thought it would do. So more on that. I heard what sounded like a question, but it was unintelligible.
I think it's just an audio crosstalk.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Ethan, it's John Feldman here. Where can I get hold of slide 5? It's making me drool.
Chad has this, and he can share it.
All the rest you can burn. I just want slide 5. I'm kidding.
Let's see, the other thing I was going to mention is one of the things that we've been supporting for many years now is the Clean Energy Ministerial's Energy Management Leadership Awards. And we do this once a year. We do this in cooperation with the Clean Energy Ministerial, which is a cohort of secretaries of energy from like 24 different countries around the world. And they do a lot of energy efficiency related things. Our little piece of it is this. We work with UNIDO to put this on. But we'll be launching this. We'll be opening up for submissions in March. We'll be closing that in June. And then at the SEM 13/Mission Innovation event in Pittsburgh this September, we'll do an awards event, hopefully in person for the first time in many years. So US is the host this year, which is really cool. And previous years like Chile, Saudi Arabia, Canada, other countries have been the host of this. And so we're the host. Looking forward to this. You can see information there on what we've done in years past. But if you have clients that have, you think, demonstrated leadership in energy management, you can nominate them for this or help them nominate themselves. And it doesn't have to be an industrial facility. A golf course in Kuala Lumpur was recognized last year. It's kind of cool, right? An energy efficient golf course with an ISO 50001 energy management system. How cool is that? So I'm sure I've taken more time than Chad wanted me to take, but I'm so excited. Always happy to talk with you guys and happy to answer any questions you have.
Ethan, thank you so much. In the interest of time, so yeah, I put in the chat that I will send out Ethan's deck with everyone. If you have follow-on questions, we can then, for folks, for Ethan, maybe you can put them into the chat and we can figure out how to respond or get this to him. But of course, we'll have his contact info in that slide deck. Mike Kelly's going to give a quick update from NRCan, and then we'll go to our key guest speaker on equity. But thank you so much, Ethan. So we'll go to Mike.
Great, thanks, Chad. Thanks, Ethan. And it's easy to follow Ethan because a lot of that I can share as kind of ditto for Canada. So as well, we're obviously supportive of the Clean Energy Ministerial's energy management working groups and encourage anyone with Canadian organizations to help them prepare their submissions for this upcoming year, both in industrial, commercial, institutional buildings too. On ISO 50001 Ready, we are working with Ethan and the DOE to continue to Canadianize and bring that tool available to Canada. So that's some colleagues of mine in the program delivery shop. So we do hope to soon have our NRCan version of that available for use north of the border. In terms of our programs, so we recently closed 2 different calls for proposals. The core one being our industrial energy management program, which supports implementation of energy management systems such as ISO 50001 and energy management information systems. We also support assessments, mainly process integration and computational fluid dynamic studies. So we're currently going through the assessment process of that. I can say that, again, the response was very, very good. So just these last 2 years, we went to a call for proposal model to help streamline some of our program delivery activities. And the response both years has been a request for over 5 times the envelope of money that we have to distribute. So very, very positive. It helps us tell a story to our management that there's a greater demand for these types of programs and to then hopefully canvas for increased fund to do more of all these good things that we enjoy doing. I think I saw Walter, somebody from EPA on the line as well. So there is continued work underway with them in terms of the Energy Star for Industry program, developing new EPIs, making them available for Canadian organizations as well, encouraging facilities to benchmark using that Energy Star for Industry Challenge program. And then some other work that is perhaps particularly exciting. Anyone on the line who is familiar with SIPEC, our Canadian Industrial Program for Energy Conservation, it's kind of gone through, there we go, John, I see a hand. It's gone through quite the transformation over the last number of years, and we are looking at revamping, refreshing a lot of that with some recent changes in our sector, our division, our department. We've gone through those same reorganizations that I think Ethan just hinted at for the DOE at all levels over the last number of years. And so anyone who would have used the old SIPEC benchmarking guides that predate some of the Energy Star for Industry programs even, we're working with some associations here in Canada on updating a few of those. So kind of I'll leave that as a sneak peek. You will be seeing some new guides coming out soon by associations for sectors such as steel and fertilizers. That's really the Cole's Notes version, Chad. I don't have a deck or anything, but happy to answer any questions.
Mike, thank you so much. And again, back as well, thanks again to Ethan. I did see a message from Paul to Ethan, but again, a few other questions that you have for Ethan or Mike, I'm asking you to please put those in the chat, and then we can figure out either how Ethan or Mike respond to those in the chat, or we take them offline, or we can also, again, make connections to folks after this. But the main thing we want to get to is our featured core guest speaker, Kathleen Belkayat, an amazing person from Energy Trust of Oregon, who's going to be talking us through the equity lens.
And I told Kathleen I'd do a quick little introduction.
Okay, great.
Teeing it up. So Energy Trust of Oregon has been on their equity/DEI journey since 2002. At least that's the farthest back record I could find. And in 2017, I think there was a pretty big update that changed their equity policy to their diversity, equity, and inclusion policy. Since 2018, there's been a really strong push in Energy Trust of Oregon to really identify those customers that we haven't served, that have been paying into our public purpose charge to actually be able to participate in programs. And through that, we identified 3 or 4 different customer types. Those are, the BIPOC community, Black, Indigenous, people of color, low income and rural customers that, although they've been paying into our public purpose charge that we dispense our incentives through, have not been receiving an equitable amount of incentives. And through the process over the last couple of years, we've developed what we call a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens. And we've been using it ad hoc up until this year, at least in one of our programs. In our commercial program, it is now a requirement of our implementer to have any program offering or design go through our DEI lens before we utilize it. So Kathleen's going to present on a use case that actually is with SEM on how we utilized not just our DEI lens, but some of our other equity tools. And then we're going to be doing an activity with you guys, kind of integrating that information into the SEM program. So Kathleen, hopefully I summarized it okay. And without further ado, I'll share my screen so you can talk.
All right, thanks, Wendy, and good morning, everyone, or afternoon to some of you. So as Wendy's pulling up, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Kathleen Belkayat, and for the last 10, 11 years, I have been managing our commercial strategic energy management offering at Energy Trust. And that's essentially when it started. And if you want to go to the next slide. So this is what I'll be talking about today is really using an equity strategy to support inclusive program design. So we have recently developed an affordable multifamily SEM offering. And I'm going to talk about that as a use case for use of the tools, and then describe a little bit about the definition of these tools and the goals of them and what they are meant to accomplish. And then what we discovered in the process doing this work with the affordable multifamily offering. And then we'll break out in small groups, as Wendy mentioned, to be able to practice using this. And then we can hopefully have some time to share out some of those highlights, but we will have it, the output electronically, so folks can kind of go back and look at what others populated. So yeah, so next slide. So I want to read this because I know there's a few folks that are over the phone. I think this is important. I don't typically read slides, but this is important, kind of like level setting and grounding on the purpose of equity work. And this is taken directly from Multnomah County, which is Portland's, majority of Portland is in Multnomah County, and they have done a lot of work on this. And this is a statement from their equity lens. So institutionalizing equity and racial justice within our organizations require that we recognize how policies, procedures, and practices can perpetuate forms of oppression that are both hidden and overt, and both old and new. Once we see and truly understand the inequities that exist in our society, we must take active steps to dismantle structures that do not promote the well-being of all people. and reconstruct institutions that embody principles of equity and racial justice. So this is a good framework to start thinking about equity, or maybe continue thinking about equity in looking at how you want to engage a customer. Not only in the offering, but maybe in design. So traditionally, Energy Trust, maybe up until the last couple of years, has been consistently using kind of the far left end of the spectrum to engage customers on program design. We typically, consider ourselves experts. We go design, and then we bring it out into the market. And what we are trying to do with a lot of our offerings is move a little bit more to the right. And where you end up on the spectrum isn't as important as kind of acknowledging where you start and where you want to be. The next slide. So here are the three main tools that we use for our affordable multifamily program design. There were other supporting activities done, but these are kind of the main ones, and I want to talk about these a little bit today. So question set, we sometimes refer to this as the lens, but I think you can think more broadly about equity, taking an equity lens more generally, but this is kind of a set of questions you want to ask that really kind of address that you're thinking about the program design and how it impacts communities or your customers directly. The assumption map is taking some ideas or maybe preconceived notions or assumptions that you have about how you are designing or thinking about designing your program offering, and I'll explain a little bit more with that, and then stakeholder interviews, which is I think a little more self-explanatory in talking directly with customers. Next slide. So assumption map, this matrix here might look familiar if you all use a matrix for prioritizing projects with SEM participants. We use this for doing our assumptions map, and we, this can be done by a couple of people, but the more team members you have involved in the process, the better. And the purpose is to really find out what assumptions you have that you don't have proof are true, but are really important that you figure out. And what I mean by that is, if we don't know this is true for a fact, our outcome of our program could fall flat, or we may not be successful. And so it's a somewhat subjective exercise, but the proof is, I think often we think we know things, and when you really dig in and ask a lot of questions, you realize, oh, I thought I knew that, or I think I know that, but is it really true? So important to validate those. So some examples that we came across in our affordable multifamily SEM process for our assumption map was that one, we had two main customers that we were looking at: the affordable housing organization staff members, and then residents that live in those affordable multifamily properties. So one was that residents care about saving energy. And what we discovered in digging deeper into that is maybe the assumptions we had about why. We consulted some experts, and they told us, yeah, they do, but they care about it not to save costs necessarily. They care about the environmental impacts, and they care about their comfort. And so that helped us kind of think about the messaging to those customers in a different way. And then another example is that the affordable multifamily staff members have time to participate in SEM, that they're willing to put forth the time that it takes to do SEM. Now, that one's a little bit more challenging, right? Because that can vary from, well, we shouldn't say more challenging, but it's a little bit maybe more nuanced in that it really, really varies. And so we had to kind of dig deeper into that one. And I would say, think about how we adjust our program design with that in mind. On to the next slide. So we also did some voice of customer interviews, which means that we talked one-on-one, talked directly to folks that qualified or we thought would be a good fit for the program. And so we were able to validate some of our questions or questions that came up, and really focusing on what goals they have as an organization and what challenges are they facing. And then we also hosted a workshop where we gathered all those organizations, kind of gave them a taste of what a cohort, peer-to-peer experience looks like, and really gave them better context as to what SEM is so that they could respond to the design. So it's really kind of planting a seed with them, not only for recruitment, but also kind of us getting to know them and them getting to know us. And so it was a really good exchange for learning more on both sides. All right, and this, I mentioned the Multnomah County Equity Lens. This is a snapshot of the lens and the 4 buckets that they put their lens into. And so you'll see Wendy put in a link to that and some other resources. Thank you, Wendy. If you want to take a look at this, you can see these questions probably more clearly if you look on your own than on the slide here. We're not going to go into all of these today, just for the sake of time. I have pulled out just a few questions from each category for our activity. But this is a really good way of kind of framing framing and kind of categorizing different ways of looking at an equity lens. So the equity lens is really asking questions like, who does this program impact? Really thinking about who is your customer. We know our customer is the folks that are signing the forms. They're signing on the dotted line. They're joining our energy team, but there's maybe more of a spectrum or embedded circles, I guess, I don't know, of the different customers that we really need to think about is who's really impacted and who needs to be considered. And so here on the next slide is an example of just one of the questions that we asked, which is what could be the unintended consequences for the community you're engaging with? And so we answered this from the perspective of residents. And again, we're making some assumptions here in that we don't have, if we are not these customers, we can't, for sure answer these, but we can think about what they may be considering to really get our kind of think outside of the box. So we thought about, are customers going to be concerned that their bills are going to go up, or so the rent's going to go up as a result of them saving energy? They may have an allotment for energy, and if it starts to decrease, that may decrease their allotment, and that can be a concern. So how do we think about that? And what we, it's not even just about messaging, but how can we prevent those negative consequences from happening? And I think it's important to really call out, I'm giving a lot of examples with residents, but, as you look at this from wherever you're sitting and whoever you're engaging with as customers, in working in SEM, that there are a lot of different customers, or you should be thinking about that, right? If, where does the building or the organization or the site sit in a community? Is there pollution? Is there a low income community surrounding that area? And how does what they are doing impact that community? So there's employees in an organization, right? So there's lots of different audiences to think about. And then just some highlights on what we learned. I think I kind of alluded to the first one already, is thinking broader about our definition of a participant. This work really caused us to shift our thinking. When we started off, we were going to put all of our incentive dollars into the affordable multifamily organizations. And the result was shifting a lot of dollars out of that bucket and into the residents. And that has actually been perceived really positively from the affordable housing organizations that we're recruiting. They see that as a very important, they told us, but they also kind of see the effort that we and the kind of tuning in that we did to make that adjustment, and that has boded well for our recruitment efforts. And then the other big kind of takeaway is that we tend to, or we wanted to sort of cover and serve all of those focus areas, all of those customer types that Wendy mentioned early on. We wanted to serve everybody that we are not serving as well, and realize that in some ways that may not be realistic. And really, if you set a DEI goal, it's okay to adjust and it's okay to think about what's realistic, but also really striving towards that equity. And the example is that we included rural communities, but having 100 plus units in a rural area is a challenge, right? So maybe that's not an area that we need to push right now. Maybe that's a future goal. So, and then just kind of highlight some benefits of using the equity strategy and program design. You can go to the next slide, Wendy. So it really leads us to think about issues in a new way, brings ideas into focus, expand outward and upward. Really, it's allowing us to kind of shift the power structure and decision-making, giving more control or power into the hands of our customers, and then really seeking to uncover those patterns of inequities. This is not a solution. It doesn't give you a discrete answer, and it's not an exact science. That's important to keep in mind, that this is a thinking exercise, and it's really meant to sort of break your patterns of thinking, and to do that as a group and kind of grow together as a team. So you're kind of coming along and together on this work. And also pointing out some kind of benefits of what it provides. And they sort of alluded to some of these already, but increased awareness of kind of you individually, of what your biases are, and as an organization, what your tendencies or biases may be. You're getting a better assessment or understanding of your customer, which allows you to really explain better how what you have, or you're trying to sell them on or get them to engage with, is really beneficial to them. So it really provides new opportunities to grow your program. So I want to jump in next to our activity and explain what we're planning on doing. So hopefully that gives you enough context and understanding of kind of why we do this and how it might apply more broadly. So the first step, so we're going to get into breakout groups, hopefully 3 to 4, and it kind of depends on how many folks we have here, but hopefully 3 to 4, so everyone gets a chance to contribute and talk. We're going to assign you to one of the 4 buckets: people, place, power, process, and power. So get one of those. Feel free to take a look at the questions in the other tabs, but you'll get assigned a tab based on your group. And we want you to define a scenario that you can apply the questions to. And this can be a new SEM offering or a new customer type. So think about, really, is it something that you have in mind that you've been curious or wanting to do? Is it something that you're just starting and you're kind of maybe in the process of designing, or maybe you can just make something up? And there's some examples in the document. And so write in your answers as a group, work together verbally, talk it through, discuss, and write in your answers. As I said, there's no right answer. There's no, it's not a quiz, it's just a good exercise in discussion. And then we're going to come back, hopefully we have some time to discuss as a larger group and hear what others kind of came up with.
Kathleen, it looks like we probably have about 15 minutes for the small breakout groups.
Great. Thanks, Wendy.
Yeah.
All right. The groups are created. So if you've not done breakout rooms in Zoom, basically we'll kick this off, and then a prompt will come up, and you will be asked then to kind of go to join. There should be, I think, it should whisk you off automatically, but you may need to prompt something. If you do want to leave your group, Be careful not to choose the wrong thing and actually kick you out of the meeting entirely. If that does happen, just click back on the link of your meeting invite and that'll bring us back in. I can try to send you back to your group. And then
One more thing.
I put the link to the Google Doc. So I would click on it now before we go to the breakout rooms because you'll lose that chat. So if you haven't already gone to the chat, click on the Google Doc. Fingers crossed, you should go directly to the Excel spreadsheet. We did try it a couple times, but that will get you to your document for the activity.
And one quick thing I forgot to mention, if you get through the questions, because there's only 3 to 4 questions for each team, if you get through them and want to take a look at the very first tab over, you may have to scroll. It says bonus questions. There's other questions. If you want to take a look and discuss those, feel free to jot those down as well.
great. So one more thing, this person over here. Sort of balance out a couple rooms. And I think we're good. Okay. Everyone put your arms up like you're about to fly on a roller coaster. Here we go. All right. And all right, see you in a few, 15 minutes. All right, Rob, if you can hear us, you should be in your breakout room. You should have a prompt that came up that tells you to get your breakout room. Yeah, oh, there it is.
Join my room. Do you want me to go join my room?
It's Holly and Kim Crossman.
It'll be kind of interesting. I just didn't know if you wanted to chat at all about anything, not necessarily about the other thing.
Yeah. We can chat about the other thing, I guess, over here.
Oh, wait, let's not.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that was good. I kept talking too long on my part, and then Ethan went long, but I think we should be good.
Let's see, 15 minutes. So I'm thinking like 12:35. Bring us back. Does that work?
12:25.
No, 15. What is my math? Yeah, thank you. 12:25. Yeah. Okay, I'll go into my breakout room.
Okay, cool. All right.
The more sophisticated industrials, Glenraven Mills, it's a local private owned but large multinational yarn and fabric producer. They're going through a cohort with AMO with us, about at the end of it too. And we've got some smaller ones, one-offs that are doing ISO 50001 consulting with us to get certified. And we do one in North Carolina every year ourselves with our utility members. So one of the things that we do to try to convince our utility members that this is a good thing to do is basically host, recruit, and form one cohort per year in North Carolina of North Carolina-based companies. And that has over the years seen wider gamut, if you will. We've had some campuses, some city, more commercial, not all industrial.
Okay. Hi, Chad.
Hey, Chad.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm looking at this spreadsheet, just kind of getting up to speed with you guys. For some reason, you became the only group that had 2 people. And so I was like, oh, let's jump in with you guys.
Okay. I think other people might be using our spreadsheet, which might make it hard to document things, but that's okay. I think we can just chat for now, because we are in group 1, but someone else is taking over group 1.
Is it?
Yeah, because somebody's Unless one of you wrote a new cohort for wastewater treatment plant.
No, I did not write that, but I can add to that. That is one of the things that the weatherization program is doing right now under the SWIFT program, Sustainable Water Infrastructure. I forget what the FT is.
Okay. Yeah, we could do that. So Chad, I was just talking with Kit about what kind of customers he's working with or might be interested in SEM. So we're just trying to figure out what we want to do for the first question. So
Yeah.
wastewater treatment or?
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, nice about wastewater treatment is it's everywhere.
True.
You know, and
it's a vital service.
Vital. Often they're not in the fanciest parts of the city. Often in the places where they complain the least.
Yeah.
Or they don't have voices, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can find a spot to write where nobody else is using it.
Wind direction can matter on where you live.
All right, we're gonna be group 9, okay?
Okay.
Since it doesn't look like anyone's in there. Group 9 might have used group 1. Okay, so wastewater treatment plant. Okay, so some of the what are the benefits, values, and burdens that communities experience with this activity or with this I guess the existence of wastewater treatment plant in their community?
It like lowers property values. I think it has like this whole ripple effect on a lot of stuff, right? It's like there's like this cycle of like lower property values, or you know, people aren't putting one there, like like housing will go in around it, but again, those homes will tend to be less, and so and there'll be like smaller, they're like more mobile home parks and other kinds of things. But you're talking about the activity, like the program, right? Is that you're asking, Kathleen? So So I mean, is it fair to say, Kit, like, of course, there's some fundamental questions in place, like but generally though, a more efficient wastewater treatment plant will probably be more, either have more dollars that it can then spend on other things to make it have less of an environmental impact around its community. Is that? I mean, it's kind of broad strokes, but
potentially, and in our area, storms can come through, and that can, like hurricanes, and that can cause wastewater treatments lots of problems, and not just hurricanes and heavy rains. So combating discharge, unwanted discharge. Wastewater treatment plant is to take in waste, clean it, and then discharge it into a aquifer that exists somewhere nearby them. And they have limits as to what they can, put in it every day. And sometimes nature just doesn't allow them to remain in those limits. So, I don't know, in terms of a program benefit, I mean, we all classes of folks, benefit from wastewater treatment, from health and safety. They're not always in low income areas. And I've never studied it close enough to know if property value is close by or lower. I assume that's probably fair. A lot of times they have to be located next to an aquifer, and a lot of times they're further away from any kind of civilization, the bigger ones. But go ahead.
I mean, in terms of, I don't know how to ask this, but in terms of the smell, they tend to be less bad, I guess, in more efficient, the ones who have kind of more up to date, higher, better technology, right? Or is that not really as much of an issue?
That's true. I think that's true. It depends on how they deal with solids. A lot of them can't afford the ultraviolet treatment. That's huge for reducing solids. So they use bugs And when they use biological bugs to decompose, I think they can be a little more smelly. Yeah, there's one not far from where I live, and depending on which direction the wind blows, occasionally you can notice it. It's right next to an interstate, and it's actually within the city limits at Chapel Hill, North Carolina. When I first moved to the area, I lived almost next door to it, and there was nothing but apartment complexes. We were looking for a home at that point, or near it.
Yeah. What did you say the bugs were the alternative to what?
Ultraviolet.
Ultraviolet.
But yeah, like right, Kate, like if they could go, you know, and maybe like bundle together, you know, ultraviolet, like a technology that was going to reduce smell and so on, and provide a higher performance, if you will. But like that coupled together with some energy efficiency or some other things, if they did like a major upgrade of the plant, right? They could be bundled together potentially, or again, if they can save energy, i.e. capital, or save bottom line, and maybe they could use that money for
a lot of
upgrades.
A lot of consistently upgrades that we see at wastewater treatment plants are adding solar. They have land. And I don't know if that's because their budget is in good shape that year because they, went through a SEM type or an energy assessment. And I mean, most of the energy they use is pumping and aeration, running motors and circulating water. But a lot of wastewater treatment plants are, because they have extra land, again, they're a little further away, are looking at solar around here and putting solar on their sites. I don't know if that, I mean, I can't say they're doing that because they saved money using energy efficiency. They may be looking at, I know in certain instances, they're looking at that to save money on their energy bill just by adding solar.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, well, here, let's go down to it's only like 2 minutes, go to the last question just to make sure we have a chance to address it. How have you, or do you intend to intentionally involve stakeholders from racially and ethnically diverse, low moderate income and rural communities in the development, decision-making, or execution of this activity? So I guess assuming that there's a wastewater treatment plant already in existence, and they may be, a customer in a cohort, how would we maybe encourage them, or how would we directly engage maybe folks in the community?
Yeah, probably like, right? Like if the community knows how the plant works, and how they can interact with the plant to essentially make them more efficient, right? So if they're like flushing things they shouldn't be flushing, could have an energy impact, or could just have not a productivity. Yeah, an impact on their work, how hard their job is.
And that would definitely impact their energy. And absolutely. I mean, there's certain things you do not want to flush down the toilet, because the first thing everything has to go through is a screen room. And, if the screen room's getting clogged up every day, that stops production, that costs them more energy, that costs them more manpower. So absolutely.
So then as you're doing that, again, engaging these different communities that maybe have different culture, ethnicities, different languages, different, and I say culture, priorities, like how they think about stuff. Are they into sustainability or not? And then how do we say, hey, we're all together. We'd love to work with you, and let you know how this all works, and we can give some tours.
And I think there's also some in that conversation, to explain the benefits. You may live near a wastewater treatment plant and have no idea what it does or how it benefits you from safety and a health perspective.
I'm gonna run. You guys keep on going for another minute, and I'll start pulling people back in a minute. Cool.
Yeah. You want to make sure
All right. Welcome back. A little dizzy from traveling around through space. You look good. Look nice. Okay. Excellent. All right. People are still returning. I think we're good. Wendy, should I flash up the last?
Yeah, let me
poll?
just, we're just out of time, which was too bad. I don't know about you guys, but I had a really good conversation about like agricultural SEM programs and how we really need to take into account those people whose voices have traditionally not been served. How if you have an SEM program that you're designing for agricultural industry, you need to have a mission that really states that you are going to focus and elevate voices that have not been heard. And what does that mean? Unfortunately, I don't think we have enough time to report out, but because we did use a Google Doc, we do have all of your notes and we will be sending it out so you can explore these notes at your own. So thank you guys, because I think this was like, for me, this was a great exercise. If you want to put some chats ideas in the chat, you can, and chat, I'll let you mentee it up now as we sail off into the afternoon and evening sunsets.
Nice. All right. So last mentee poll. It's coming your way. How would you imagine using the equity lens, if at all? If you plan to use it, I know I will. I had a great conversation. Kit Butler was talking with Kathleen and I about wastewater treatment, and we were just, Kathleen and I were just like riffing. It was a lot of fun, right? It was neat. I know
And
as
I'll
people were
put
talking.
in the,
Go
I was just gonna say, I'll put in the chat again, the equity lens from Multnomah County. So if anybody wants to take it home with them or missed it, you can. And also the public participation spectrum, engagement spectrum.
Great. We will share the deck. We've got the recording. We'll share the links to these resources. So you'll have all these to use to support what it is that you do, which is helping folks save energy and transforming their organizations. So really cool stuff. And I just, again, since Wendy and I first did that DEI webinar about a year and a half ago, and it was just so powerful that we can do so much with our programs as the basic idea. And it's really cool to see how things have come along and seeing a tool like this that we got into and how we can potentially apply it. So I encourage you all to push yourselves, to push your programs, see what else we can do with them. Loving
Hey,
these
Chad,
comments coming.
right
Yes.
quick, Mike Stowe, is the summer study buildings, commercial industry, or what this summer?
Buildings.
Buildings, okay.
But if
Thanks.
you speak industrial, you're still allowed to attend.
Okay, thank you.
They won't stop you at the door.
Okay, just checking. They're gonna have some diversity and inclusivity for
Exactly.
industrial personnel.
Industrial.
Okay, thank you.
And a quick secret, it's in Monterey, California, and a beautiful beach area.
I saw that on the website.
No one else listened to this. So yeah, yeah, hopefully no one else heard what I just said. It's a nice place to go. Thank you all so much. It was wonderful. Enjoy the rest of your day and week. And we'll see you on our next webinar next month. More to come on that.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks, everybody. Thanks,
All right,
Wendy.
see you.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Mm.